Hello and welcome to another episode of Tea Time Trauma Talk with Brad. That's me. I'm Brad. And the tea today is a kumaon white tea from India. Very buttery, somewhat rich, but caffeinated, definitely caffeinated. And this is actually what I've been going through today. So that's Tuesday for you. Anyway, what I'd like to talk today about is resetting the nervous system. When we're feeling agitated, we're feeling restless, we're feeling anxious, afraid, worried, whatever it might be, we feel like I just can't get that to loosen up. There are a couple good things you can do, very easy skills to do to get our nervous system's back up to being socially engaged, feeling open and relaxed. And so that's what I'm going to do. But first, actually, come to think of it, last time, setting my tea down, last time I talked about the breathing patterns, the 4 seconds in, the 6 seconds out. The benefit of that being for every 10 seconds, you have 2 seconds longer of calming hormones and lowered heart rate during the exhale. And if you do that for a minute, then you have 12 seconds, and how that's a really good investment and all that good stuff. A number of days ago, I started applying that to the recommended COVID-19 hand washing routine of 20 seconds. So at 10 seconds, done that twice, you got 20 seconds. And what I noticed is that my motivation to keep doing that, I mean, more so than not getting coronavirus or anything else for that matter, my motivation to keep doing that increased because when I washed my hands, it was a relaxing experience. It wasn't something where I was more so thinking, oh, I need to do this right, or, what have I done to this one? It was more filled with calm. And I also noticed that I was doing it for more than 20 seconds. That the 10, 20, and into 30 seconds actually got really, really easy. So if we did, again, doing that for that whole minute, we get our 12 seconds of extra of calming hormones. We get clean hands, and for that last 30 seconds, you can dry up your hands and fix up your hair and get pretty and stuff like that. So give that a whirl. If you've had yourself or someone still kind of thinking that the washing the hands all the time is an arduous thing, throw in the breathing pattern while you're doing that, and you might experience something different for yourself, or your friend might experience, or your family member might experience something different. Just throwing that out there. All right, so when I talk about the nervous system, I'm talking more so about the autonomic nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system being divided up into 3 parts. We're going to focus today on the ventral vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is actually divided into 2. There's the ventral and the dorsal, which is down below, but we're going to focus today on the ventral vagal. And the ventral vagal is the social engagement aspect of our autonomic nervous system. We know about fight or flight. I'm sure you've all heard of that. That's separate from the vagus nerve, but it is still part of our autonomic nervous system. And that is our first mobilization, defense mechanism, as far as mobilization goes. Ventral vagal is also considered a threat mechanism. We use that first and foremost when we identify or sense threat. We try to use and try to manage that threat with our ventral vagus, which connects our heart and our face. So that's our outward, frontward projection. If that doesn't work, then we go into our fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system. But when we have a healthy and active ventral vagal, we're able to express through our face. We're able to speak clearly. We're able to read other people's nonverbals, and their verbals, of course, but read their nonverbals. And 90% of our communication is nonverbal. There's a lot of subtleties going on in communication that are well beyond the words that we use. I'm sure we've all experienced that at some point in our lives. When we slip out of the ventrovagal, we know that we're no longer socially engaged. So the tension that we're feeling, the bundle of nerves sensation, that has nothing to do with being in ventrovagal. So if we're experiencing that, we know that we can step back into ventrovagal. And here's a couple ways to do that. All right, so we're going to get ourselves, try not to knock my tea over. This is one way to get into the ventrovagal. Okie doke. So take your hands, place them behind your head. And we're doing this because we want to prevent the head from moving along with our eyeballs. We're going to be using our eyes with this one. It's also nice because it allows our shoulders and our neck to relax a little bit, which we sometimes don't do throughout the day. So just give them a break for a little bit. My head might move a little bit with this because I'm trying to keep in line with the camera. But you'll want to try to keep yours as still as possible. So simply moving your eyes to the right. Now I wear glasses, so I use the hinge of my glass as something to focus on. You don't have to go all the way 90 degrees out if you can. That's too much tension. Just having your eyes out at, not quite 45 degrees, but at an angle where you feel a little bit of tension. And we're going to be doing this, and I've already done this a couple times today, so it might not work immediately for me, but I'm going to give it a whirl anyway. For some people, it can be 30, 60 seconds until something starts to happen. What we're doing is resetting our nerves, so you're going to be feeling different nerve sensations throughout your body. I feel some in my head right now. I feel some in my arms, and I feel a little bit in my legs. What we're trying to do is actually get to that. So every time that we do this and we experience a sigh or a swallow or a yawn, that means that to a certain degree our nervous system has reset. So anyway, we're off to the right. We're holding that posture with our eyes to the right until we yawn or sigh or swallow. Then we set ourselves back up to the center. We relax, and then we go off to the left and we hold to the left with the hands like this. We hold to the left until again we have that same sigh or swallow or yawn. And then we've done that one exercise. So that's only maybe 2 minutes at most that takes you to do that. And you'll feel a readjustment of everything. You'll feel a little bit of an opening up. That's a lighter way of doing it. The next skill is going to be a little bit more intense. And I'm not going to do the third one because it requires me to get on the floor and to be on my hands and knees and stuff. And I'm just using my iPad, so I'm not going to do that because I don't want to fiddle with the camera. But this is called the half salamander. The other one's called the full salamander, or the salamander. So the salamanders, they don't have the neck mobility like we do. Their whole bodies move like this, if you know salamanders, right? So what we're going to do is mimic that, but only from the neck up. So again, sitting, relaxing the shoulders, head forward. We're going to take our eyes to the right. Again, I'm using this as my point to focus on. And I oftentimes will use my thumb or my finger to hold as I tilt my head to reach my ear to my shoulder. I'm not lifting my shoulder like this. I'm just tilting my head so my ear is down near towards my shoulder, not stretching like that, just enough, and just letting this rest, letting it rest. And this is the one where when I do this, I can feel this in my fingers, I can feel this in my toes as it's happening right now. Nerves really start to trigger up, and it feels good. And again, I've been doing this all day, and that's probably as deep as I'm going to get with that one. What I tend to do is go beyond that initial yawn or that initial sigh, And there's usually something even bigger lying behind that. So I hold that for just a little bit longer and get something really deep. You want it coming up from the gut. You want that whole body response. So when you're done doing that side, you front and center, you relax a little bit, and then till your eyes to the left and your head to the left, and you do the exact same thing. You hold for 30 to 60 seconds until again that yawn or that sigh or that swallow happens. Every time that we do that yawn or that sigh, we're activating our esophagus, and that is part of our ventral vagal, right? So we're done with those two steps. The third one is to look to the left or look to the right, but look to the opposite direction that you're tilting your head. So you look into your left. Oh, I did it. But then move your head to the right. And you hold that until the same thing happens. Recenters, usually after 30 or 60 seconds. And then eyes to the right and head to the left. And again, hold that for another 30 to 60 seconds until the big yawn or sigh or swallow. And then you have essentially reset your nervous system. You've activated the ventral vagus. You should be feeling lightness in the chest, openness, some tingling in the face too. So your body is open and projected this way. It's allowing things in. It's broadcasting things out. It's taking you away from that sympathetic nervous or that defensive dorsal vagal, which for some of us, we exist in that too often. So that mobilization or that immobility freeze response that we have, or shutdown response that we have. So that's that. This is a short one. Just wanted to throw out the my tea. I wanted to throw out the hand washing thing because that's really worked for me. It's made it much more pleasurable. And I even tend to forget about why I'm doing it. So I don't think about coronavirus every time I'm washing my hands. We get enough of that from other sources that we don't need to be replaying that tape over and over ourselves. And then we have the hands behind the head with just the eyeballs, and then the half salamander with eyes and head tilted into one direction, and then eyes and head tilted in opposite directions. And there you go. Hope that was informative. Hope it works for you. If you do find it, for some people to experience that amount of energy that can come out, or sometimes emotions come out when we do these things too, any emotions that are associated with that intensity of the nervous system can be overwhelming. So if you find yourself being scared by it or feeling scared by it, go ahead and stop. You can do something called pendulation, where you do a little bit at a time. So you're not overwhelming yourself. If you've been over here with your nervous system consistently activated over here and becoming full over here might be a little bit too much in one go. So move little bits at a time, little bits at a time, little bits at a time, and soon you'll get to that spot. And the cool thing about doing this is that when you do the pendulation, you're actually moving the baseline a little bit each time. It takes time because your nervous system responds to the environment and predicts the environment due to past experience. So if you've had rough experiences in the past, be compassionate and slow. There's no rushing any of this. Just know that your nervous system is doing what it knows to do best. You want it to be better, but you also want it to heal in the way that it heals. And as Ram Dass said, you can't rip the skin off a snake. Snake takes its time, and then it's molting, and it's done. And you've got yourself a shiny new snake. Okay, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourself, and enjoy your tea.